Welcome everyone to another episode of Quarantine with Dr. Adi. Thank you all for tuning in today. It's so good to actually get to come on here and talk to you again on this show. I'm sorry that I've been a little MIA for a few weeks. I hope you were able to tune in last week to African Business Club session where I really deep dive into Industry 4.0. If you weren't able to tune in, you may want to look for that video or let me know if you want me to redo that session on here for you guys. Today is a great day. Today we're going to be talking about, other methods to migrate out of wherever you are. As you know me, I am the Jackpot Master. That is what I currently call myself. We have to look for ways to be able to make sure you maximize your potential, whether it's moving you from wherever you are to Canada or to the US. And like I said on my tweet, if US doesn't work, we will look at Australia and New Zealand for you. One thing is sure, my job is to make sure that you understand that education can be your compass to navigate the world. I have used education to navigate the world from Nigeria to Finland to Canada and to the US. And it is my hope that I will encourage every person, every African, every immigrant, every Asian, to use education as their compass to navigate the world. So if you want to know, education is the next way to level up. Education is the next way to be the boss. Education is the next way to win an award. Education is the next way to own a home, to do anything. That is what I'm advocating for. All right, today we have a special guest with us. Before I go and invite our special guest, for those who don't know me, who are joining this for the first time, my name is Adeola Olubamiji. I go by Dr. Adi. I am the founder of many different initiatives. I am the founder of STEM Up Foundation, and I am the founder of DTech-Centrics Consulting. So if you're looking for help in terms of you just migrated to the US or Canada, you're trying to get a job, you just graduated from college, you're trying to understand how do you break into the job market in those locations, or you're in college, you're trying to understand what do you need to do to make sure that you're competitive after graduating, you should come on my mentorship program. You should come talk to me about your career. If you are in anywhere, you're thinking, I need to go abroad for school. I've done it. I've gone to Europe for school without paying any dollar. I've gone to Canada for school without paying anything. I want to be able to help you get scholarships, find what exactly should you study to be competitive in that country, make sure that we're preparing you not only to come abroad, but actually to thrive abroad. If you're thinking about schooling abroad, come talk to me about that journey. The services that DTech-Centrics help you with include resume and cover letter editing. If you've written your cover letter or your resume, if you're written your statement of purpose for admission, if you've designed your own career or research portfolio, you need a coach or a mentor to help you look through. If you're an engineer, you're on this channel today, you need to get a coach to help you understand how do you package your engineering degree to be able to be competitive in your career as we move into Industry 4.0. Come and talk to me. My mentorship program is opening up. The other cohort is opening up in a few days. Get ready to join that mentorship program. I'm taking another 20 people on a journey to thrive. All right, that is it about me. And now let's wait and see whether we can get our guests to come in. So today the focus is on United States. We want to explore, if you have master's degree or you have PhD, some of you have told me, I don't want to write IELTS. I did my school in English. What are my other options? Some of you have told me, I don't want to go to Canada. I think I would thrive better in the US. This is your opportunity to get informed, whether you are interested in it or you want to just get informed about the opportunities available for you in the US. This is for you. This session for you is for you today. I am waiting on our guest today. Let me look and see. All right, she's on here. Today has been someone I admire, someone I have followed. I followed her work, her journey. And she's here today. Hi, Doc. How are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
So
Thanks for inviting me.
I followed our page. The reason for that is because I currently live and work in the US. You may wonder, Dr. Adi, why is it that you are able to work or live anywhere? from the US, from Europe to Canada, and now to the US. And that is why I want to make sure that all the information that I have to be able to thrive in those different places, you have access to those information. And that is why, we've been talking about Canada, all of the different things, schools, and all the different things you can do. I think the US also has tremendous opportunity for you to legally migrate here and be comfortable here and thrive. So we have with us today Dr. Ozzy, someone that I truly, truly admire. Have followed her work. When are you inviting me to your podcast?
Right after this.
She's here today. She's a consultant. She knows a whole lot about that immigration process. How do you migrate from wherever you are with your qualification to the US? She's going to take us through a journey of the EB2 and NIW today, but she's going to start with the background, what are different streams, so that you are informed. Dr. Ozzy, I'm so pleased that you're here with us. If you're not following EB2 NIW page, she's the one who is the chief consultant there. Please follow that page. Follow our passionate page. If you're looking for inspiration, maybe you're in grad school, you want to listen to somebody who is, bringing other professionals on board to help you find out what should you know to be able to thrive. Follow her page so that you can have access to a podcast and listen in to get some inspiration, motivation, and everything else in between. Dr. Ozzy, I don't know how to introduce you too much. I know she's a scientist. She's a podcaster. She's an author. The woman that does it all.
Not yet. I don't do engineering, so I guess I don't do it all.
I'm an engineer and I'm a scientist. If you ask me who I am, I say I'm a scientist because that is more fashionable. That is a little.
I see what you mean.
Well, welcome to Quarantine with Dr. Adi. This program started during the beginning of the lockdown, when people were complaining about, okay, I'm losing jobs, or I'm scared that they're laying people off in my job, or I really need to move out of where I am to another location because people were scared about health and all the situation. We started to just rant, to just chill. But we went from ranting to really sharing information about immigration, about career.
Awesome.
And today, I'm very pleased that we will move forward one step ahead to looking at the opportunities in the U.S. Dr. Ozzy, I'm already taking 10 minutes. We're ready for you, whatever you are. I was waiting on us to have 100, so I think now we have 105. We can start.
Awesome. Yay. Well, thanks for inviting me. My name is Ozzy. Actually, my name is Ozioma, but everyone calls me Ozzy.
Can you increase the
Can you hear me?
a bit for us?
Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second. Okay. Well, this is the max. Can you hear me? Okay.
It's still not as loud.
Maybe I shouldn't use my AirPods. Maybe I should.
Okay. So while Dr. Ozzy gets settled, if you're on this program today, the only thing you hold me is share this with people as you're coming in. Take a picture, tag us on Instagram, tweet about this program, share it on Facebook. We want as many people to benefit from this. Information is power. It's very important. People are talking about, Donald Trump has banned Nigerians from coming to the US. This is a stream that has not been touched. So please share this anywhere you are right now. Share it on your pages. Let somebody else know how to join this program so that we can get people knowing about the possibilities. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to shout a little bit more because I don't want anyone to miss out on any information. So my name is Ozzy, but it's full for Ozioma. Ozioma is my full name. But since I was a kid, my parents have called me Ozzy the whole time. And so when I introduce myself to people, I usually say my name is Ozzy. And so it kind of like everywhere I go now, even at work, everyone calls me Ozzy, and that's absolutely fine. Sometimes when you call me Ozzy about now, I kind of feel like this person doesn't know me, or you're not just that close to me. But I feel very comfortable when people call me Ozzy. So anyway, I'm Nigerian, I'm Igbo, but I'm kind of Yoruba too because I grew up in Lagos and I'm married to my husband who is actually from Ogun State. So, by extension, I'm also Yoruba as well. So I kind of tell people I'm Igbo and Yoruba as well. So I a little bit about my educational background. I started out in Nigeria. I went to Babcock University. Yay! If there's anyone who went to Babcock University here, well, yeah, I'm also a Babcockite. That's what we call ourselves. And then I graduated in 2018. No, 2008. Now, I'm not going to give you too many dates because then some people can start crunching my age, and I probably don't want that. So I graduated, I did the regular youth service, and then I tried to get a job in Nigeria, but my passion has always been to travel abroad to further my education. So I just, I applied to a couple places. It wasn't working out, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to study for my GRE and I'm going to move abroad. So that's what I did. I woke up every morning at 2 a.m. I was very motivated, highly motivated, because I just wanted to get out of the house, So I would wake up and I'll study, and long story short, I moved to the US. I moved to California for my doctorate degree, which took a long time, you guys. If I had known it was going to take that long, I probably wouldn't have started it. But I was so excited to be leaving Nigeria, to be leaving my parents. Yay, Pinky Couch. The Pinky Couch is also proudly Babcock. Awesome. So I remember the day I was leaving, some people were like, they organized a little party, and this lady told me, oh, it's going to be difficult when you travel abroad. I was just like, yeah, whatever, I'm out of here, And so eventually I moved out here, finished my program, and I just knew I wanted to stay back because I really loved what I was doing. So in grad school, I was doing, I'm a scientist, I work in a research lab. I was doing all these experiments that I felt were really impacting people. And I really wanted to continue in that field. But you guys know, if you live in the US already, you know that if you don't have your permanent resident card in America, especially if you want to live here, it can be some kind of deterrent for you. So there's certain jobs you can apply for. There's certain places that won't even take a look at your application if you don't have that, because it will cost them money to actually apply for that process for you, right? And so when I was about to graduate, one of my friends told me that, Ozzy, she told me this as a secret. She's like, Ozzy, I just got my green card and I did it all by myself. Well, she didn't do it herself, but she said she used a lawyer. But she's like, you can do it yourself. And she's like, this is how it works. It's called the EB2 NIW, Employment-Based Second Preference National Interest Waiver. And she was at the time in public health. So she was getting her master's in public health. And so she would show me her green card. And she was like, I just got this in the mail, but don't tell anybody. So I was thinking about it. So I told her, okay, what are the requirements? And she told me. And so I had that in the back of my mind. And so when I went in for my postdoctoral, fellowship, I just knew that I wanted to apply. But if you're a postdoc, you know that postdocs are in training. So they're kind of like MDs who are in residency, kind of. So you're not paid a lot of money. So when I started making all these calls and trying to find out how much it was going to cost to actually apply, it was like I was hearing $12,000 from this person. I was hearing $8,000, $6,000. It really just depended on the state that you were living in. So I decided I was going to do it myself. And I'm kind of grateful that I did, because now I'm able to help people just navigate the process. And so that's really, really, really what I've been about for the past couple of years. Just been trying to help people who are qualified actually navigate the process. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that it's merit-based, right? So a lot of people are going to hear about this and get excited, which is great, but it's merit-based. You have to always remember that. So you have to put in the work. You have to have put in the work. It's like one of the things that you get as a reward for all the hard work that you've been doing, right? So it's not everyone who's going to get their green card this way, and that's okay. You may get your green card through marriage if you genuinely fall in love with someone who is an American citizen, and that's the way that you get your green card. Hey, there's no problem with that. You can also get your green card if your relative applies for you. It's a little bit longer process there, but that's another way that you can get a green card. So don't get discouraged if I tell you the requirements and it's not for you. It doesn't mean that this is the end of the road for you. No, it just means that for this particular category, you might not be qualified, but then you may qualify for something else. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so go ahead, Dr. Addy.
So I know we had a couple of questions there. So one of the things that people want to know is, what are the different categories? Okay. Today we're picking on the EB2 and IW. Are there other categories that you can kind of touch on for people to kind of know what are the different streams? So if they don't merit this, maybe they merit something else.
Okay, so you have to know that there are different preferences. So USCIS has kind of put a range ranking on this, who is more important than the rest, so that they focus on the most important and they kind of come down that way. So that's why it's called EB2. There's EB1, there's EB2, EB3, down the line like that. So in terms of the ones that you can actually do for yourself, where you don't need an employer, you don't need a sponsor, you can actually apply for EB1 by yourself, and EB2 NIW. All right, EB1A and EB2 NIW. And these are kind of the two I'm going to touch on because I'm going to really focus on the ones that you can do yourself, right? The other ones may be out of your hands a little bit because it will depend on your employer. So if you get a job and you meet someone, or you work in an organization that is super friendly to immigrants, and they like the quality of your work, and they want to, they want to file for your green card for you, it's even easier because they do all the legwork for you, and the requirements are much less, right? So something like the EB1B, EB1C, these are categories that your employer, or just the EB2 itself without the NIW aspect, these are categories that your employer can actually put in for you. But having looked for a job in America, I know that it's kind of difficult in some instances to find someone who's going to file for you. It's really, really difficult. So some people are just blessed. They find their first job, the employer is like, hey, if you work with us for X number of years, I'm going to file for you. But some people are not. So today I really want to focus on stuff that is in your control and things that you can actually do. All right, okay. So I'm going to talk about two, EB1A and EB2 NIW. So it's it's employment based, which means that it's under the category of people that have jobs, but you don't necessarily need a job for EB2 NIW, right? So EB1 is actually, the two of them have something in common. That's exceptional ability. And how does USCIS define exceptional ability? They're saying that you have a degree of expertise that is significantly above your peers, right? So, for instance, Dr. Addy is an engineer, right? By virtue of being an engineer, she just doesn't qualify for any of these categories just because she's an engineer. Because remember, in America, there are lots of engineers here. So why you? So you always have to remember that you have to be bringing something to the table that is significantly above your peers. So how do they gauge exceptional ability? They want you to show in 3 ways that you're exceptional. So it could be through, you've gotten scholarships, you've gotten awards. You have, if you're in a field where publications is a thing, like my field, yeah, do you have publications? If you have publications, who is citing your work, right? Are people citing your work? Are you been invited to conferences? Do you speak at conferences? Do you present? Have you ever been featured in newspaper articles? Those kind of things. Now, there's a long list. There's so many ways you can show you're exceptional. Anything that sets you apart from people that have the same level of education or same degree, that makes you exceptional. Now, EB1A is first preference. So the 1 means first preference, and it's given to people who are at the top of their careers. So people who have gotten the highest award in their careers, they apply through EB1A. Now, it doesn't mean that if you're in EB, you can apply for both of them at the same time. You can. It's your money. You can do whatever you want with it. But I went with EB2 NIW because at the time I just graduated. I felt like, okay, maybe I still have a little bit more to do, to boost my career and boost my resume. And so that's the reason why I went with EB2 NIW. So in EB1, they're talking about people that have Nobel Prizes. They're talking about people who have won Oscars. When you hear things like this, it kind of scares people off a little bit. So people feel like they may not qualify. So that's why people say, okay, maybe I don't qualify for EB1. Let me go to EB2, second preference, which is also highly competitive, but I may qualify with EB2. So that's the way that I went, and that's what I usually talk to people about.
So if I want to break it down to my audience, because a lot of the people who are on the call today, they are trying to go to Canada because they feel like they have certain criteria. So some of the criteria, as you know, Canada also have a merit-based system. So I believe that a lot of the people who are on here, they're familiar with merit-based system. When we're talking about merit-based system in Canadian time, it means, okay, the more education you have, the better. So if you have a PhD, you get more points. If you have, and some of the other things that they'll use age. If you're within this age category, you'll get more points. They also use English, ability to speak English. So you'll take English proficiency, and if you get this amount of point, then you get more points. It's a point-based merit-based system. Today we're trying to compare that a bit. With this EB2, let's focus on EB2.
Right.
Like if I am applying now, I'll be applying for EB1 because I just won a couple of national manufacturing awards in the US. So if you're on here, wherever, a couple of questions I want you to clarify. Can somebody apply for this from outside of the US? Number 2 is, do they need to show that they have to go and do IELTS and do English proficiency exams? Number 3 is age a limitation? If somebody is 38, 43, is it still okay for them to apply? Education requirement. what is the education requirement, the minimum requirements that will make somebody qualify for this, on whether if they are researchers, if they have papers, what is the number of citations that could work? I know this is a whole lot of questions, but
Yeah,
I'm trying
probably
to
forget.
I'm trying to
probably forget the rest.
Okay, so I know I'm asking a whole lot at the same time, but I want the people on the call today who have been working on their Canadian process and they're in the pool and nobody is picking them because age has make it really hard for them, or the IELTS grade is a little low.
Okay.
And now they can't get processed. Maybe this is an option for them. So that's why I'm asking all of those very concise questions.
Right. Okay, let me start from my phone to charge here. Let me start from the very first question that he asked me. So the very first question he asked me was, can you apply from outside the United States? And the answer is yes. So the United States is actually looking for people who have advanced degrees. So with EB2 NIW now, people who have advanced degrees, who are exceptional, and who meet the requirements of the national interest waiver. And I'll explain all of this. So remember that there are exceptional people all over the world. US is looking to recruit these people, right? And so you can apply from anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter if you're in the US or if you're not. I did because I'm actually in the US. So I can talk a little bit more about that process because I'm very familiar with that process. However, if you're outside the US, it doesn't stop you from applying. You can do that as well. Okay. The second question you asked was about educational requirements. So they want you
Before you move on to that, I want to chime in. I have a friend who did this from outside the US, who lives in Canada. I got it. So wherever you are in Ukraine, you are in Dubai, you have advanced degrees, the same way you're looking at Canada and saying, I qualify. I want you to go and look and make sure that you probably qualify for this, right? Don't just look at one option. You have come this far. I want you to be able to get a good return on your investment. Going to grad school is torture. It's not easy at all. Some of us, we wake up today and say, I'm not doing it.
I said that several times.
I said that maybe 10 times. There are moments when you slept in the lab. There are moments when, when I was going to school during my bachelor's, my father sold his pickup and gave me that money for school. So if my father sold his pickup, I must milk this education pata until it is empty. When you eat chicken and eat the whole bone and there is nothing left. So I'm every time I look at my education, the question is, how can I maximize this? So I want to stress that if you're listening today, you've been looking at Canada, is not letting you in for one reason or the other, and you are outside of the US, look at this option as it is possible to be able to apply from outside the US. Thank you.
Okay. So what was the second question? Second question was about your advanced degree. So remember, advanced degree is number one. Advanced degree is number one. Now, I have a PhD, which is great, but the requirement is not PhD. So I always tell people this. The requirement for EB2 NIW is not to have a PhD. If you have, actually, it's a bachelor's degree. So if you have a bachelor's degree plus 5 years of work experience in that field, that's the requirement for advanced degree, right?
Somebody help me tweet that. If you're on this team, you should see how I jackpot that. Help me be tweeting all these points.
That's true.
Bachelor's plus 5 years of work experience is eligible for EB2 NIW. Who is on Twitter? Tag me. I don't have Dr. Ozi's. Let people be tweeting this thing the same way in Canada that if you have masters, they'll say, okay, if you have masters and these 5 years of experience, you'll get this point. You have opportunity. People be tweeting this for me. Thank you.
Yeah, so there's that. And then another thing is there an advantage to having a higher degree? Yes. There's always an advantage to having a higher degree because your higher degree shows that you probably have more achievements than someone that has a bachelor's degree. So when it comes time to prove how exceptional you are, if you have the more degrees you have, you kind of find it a little easier to show your exceptional ability, right? So the first thing I told you guys is advanced degree, and they want you to have bachelor's degree plus 5 years of work experience in that field. The second requirement is that you show that you are exceptional. And I was telling you before, how do you show you're exceptional? You have to show that you're significantly above your peers in your field. So if the minimum requirement in your field is just to have your degree, in addition to your degree, what else do you have? And they want you to show in 3 ways, right? So they want you to show using, you can use that degree that you have. That alone shows you're exceptional. So that's one thing. You can get recommendation letters from people in your field to show that you've worked with them. She does exceptional work. Her work is important. That also counts. If you've gotten scholarships, you know, it doesn't have to be scholarships. It could be scholarships for your grad school. Did you get any awards in grad school while you were there? Were you going to conferences? Were you presenting at these conferences? Have you been in any newspaper publications? What sets you apart, basically? Have you judged other people's work? So when I heard about this stuff, I didn't feel like I had, you know, done enough. So I made sure that I began to plan and, you know, put things in motion that will make my application really, really strong. So one of the things that I see working with people right now is a lot of people come to me when they're 2 weeks away from dropping out of status, right? So they're already in the US. They just heard about EB2 NIW and they call me and they're like, oh my God, my status, I'm going out of status next week. What can I do? No, this process cannot be expedited. Unlike other immigration processes where you pay a little bit more and they, you know, push your file to the top of the list if that's available, EB2 NIW cannot be expedited. So it will take the normal process, right? It will take, if it's going to take 1 year from start to finish, it's going to take 1 year. So this is the kind of information that you get right now, and you begin to strategize about what you're going to do in the future. All right. Okay. So people are asking about example of ways that you can show you're exceptional, for example, publications and citations. Now, there is no set number of publications that they want, right? They look at your case as a whole. And I always tell people, push the most significant thing you've done to the top, right? So if they say they want 3 things and your publication record is 1 publication, you probably have only 5 people cite that work. You don't want to put that at first as the only evidence that you have, right? You push your awards first, push your scholarships first, and then you can talk about other things that you've done. So it's how you prepare the application. So I've seen people get this approval with 1 publication, 1 review article. They got this green card approved. And I've seen people who have 50 publications, but they don't get approved. One thing that I see with different people's cases is that it's just like a law case, right? It's the way, because you're advocating for yourself. It's the way that you present your case. That's what makes a difference. So, of course, you have to be qualified, but the way you present your case makes the difference. So sometimes people who are overqualified, they start to write this petition letter, which explains how they're qualified, all the requirements, and how they meet those requirements. They start to explain those things, and people are lost, right? Think of your petition letter like you're talking to your grandma. I always tell people this. Your grandma is educated, right? For her own level, whatever she did. Maybe she was high school, maybe she was university, but you're trying to explain to your grandma what you did. Remember that USCIS officers are not in your field. So when you get very technical, you start mentioning, trying to impress people with what, you know, big words, people get lost. So you have to make your application in such a way that anybody who will pick up your application, even if you're not there to explain stuff to them, they understand exactly what you're talking about. You have to stress the importance of your work, right? So when people start talking, they get really into like acronyms, and I know every field has acronyms and things like that, but you want to be able to give that information as clearly as possible in layman's terms. This is the most important thing, so people don't get lost. Because if people get lost, guess what they're going to do? They're going to say, I don't understand this application, I'm just going to put it to the side. So that's what I'll say about citations and publications is you can have 1 publication, you can have 2 citations. However, it's how you put the whole package together. Put your strongest points first, right? And then every other thing is as fluff, you put it, you know, as some kind of backing. But make sure that you're telling your story in this, you know, as straightforward as you can. You're making that application easy to understand, and you're turning in everything that they need. Because if you don't turn in everything that they need, they're going to, you know, come back to you and say, hey, we need more from you.
Okay.
All right. So you have to keep that in mind.
There have been a lot of questions. I think there are a lot of researchers on here today. There have been a lot of questions on research publications. I would like us to, if it's possible, to touch on that a bit. You know, Dr. Ozzy has explained, I think there are 10 criteria. They want you to meet 3 out of these 10.
Yes.
She's talked about prioritize whichever one you think. I'm a microphone today, okay? Whatever she says, I'm going to help you. In churches. So 3 out of 10. Yeah. You need to understand what are the 10. what are the three that you have? In some cases, you may have more than three, but prioritize based on which one is more valid and more tangible for you. And then, add everything else to it. Now, a lot of researchers on here are asking about, okay, what if somebody asks, what if my field of studies is different from my employment that I have 5 years experience in? Which one am I supposed to prioritize or cite? Does that contradict issues for them?
So it depends on what we're really talking about here. So remember, one thing I want to say before I start talking about your field is that it's not only for scientists, okay? So it's for people in business, arts, and science, right? So keep that in mind. It's not only for scientists. I'm a scientist, so I can speak to it, but entrepreneurs, business owners have been able to use this platform to get their green cards as well. Now, the question you asked about, what was the question again?
If the work experience is different from the degree.
Okay, so how far away is this? And do you have any transferable skills that, even though it was not in the same field, were there any skills that you could say, hey, I worked in this field doing something entirely different. However, that was on communication, right? And now I'm working in a big PR firm, right? Even though your work experience was on communication, probably on a radio station, but now you're working in a PR firm, you can merge the two because there's a link between those two, right? So that's something I always tell people is find the transferable skills that you have from your previous employment. Now, you could have been a model, runway model, right? And now you're a medical doctor. There's no link, right? If you want to base your EB2 on being in the medical field, I don't know how you're going to bring in being a runway model. So some things are really far away from each other, but you can get really creative with that. So in my case, I'll give you an example. I've been in research for the longest. So even as an undergrad in Babcock, I did research, as I worked with mice and things like that. So when I moved to the US, I continued with that line of, so it's easy to say that I've stayed in the field for, X amount of years. However, even though I've stayed in the field, I've done different things. So in grad school, I was, studying gum disease, your gums and how they affect your, the gum disease is linked to heart disease, it's linked to different diseases. And so that's what I was studying in grad school. But when I moved to my postdoc, I started studying the lungs, right? Totally different, body organs. But I was able to draw from that. And here's how you can do it. You can say, hey, I've been successful doing this. Because one of the requirements of the national interest waiver, there are 3 requirements of national interest waiver, right? So remember, EB2 NIW, just think of 3 things. The first one is advanced degree, which I've explained, which is a bachelor's degree plus 5 years of experience. The second one is exceptional ability, show in 3 ways. If you can show in more than 3 ways, even better, because you convince people even more, right? And the third one is you must meet the requirements for a national interest waiver. These 3 things. Now, national interest waiver, I would say, is the most important thing because it's easy to show you have advanced degree, it's easy to show you have exceptional ability, right? But when it comes to national interest waiver, there are 3 things, right? The first one, you have to show that your proposed endeavor has substantial merits and national importance. So what you're proposing to do has substantial merit, is needed by the US, right? So for instance, I've seen people who have, come from the arts, right? Let's use the arts, for example. So you have an arts teacher who is teaching arts to populations that are minorities. So they don't have these services in those populations. She's saying, this is where I'm going to focus my efforts. That it has national merit because there are so many populations in the United States where they're underserved, they don't have these services, and she's proposing to do that. You could be a researcher. It's very easy for researchers, actually. I would say it's very, very easy because researchers, by virtue of that, you're already doing something that is needed, most cases, right? So it's super easy. But for instance, you're a researcher working in a diabetes lab, and they're asking that the proposed endeavor has national merits. You're going to say, hey, these are the statistics of people who are dying from diabetes in America. This stuff is important, right? And then last but not least, if you're a businessman, right, they want things that are going to benefit the US culturally, educationally, and of course, pump things into the economy, right? Pump money into the economy. So if you're a businessman and you're starting a business in the United States that's going to be beneficial to the people in the United States, they want that as well, right? Now, the second requirement of national interest waiver is that you have to show that you can do that work, right? You have to show that you're the person to do the work. So you've proposed to do something. Remember, you may not even have a job. You're proposing to do something based on your past achievements. Secondly, you're saying that I'm the one to do the job. How do you show you're the one to do the job? your advanced degree. I have the training. If you have any licenses, if your field requires some licensing or some certification, do you have those certifications that will show that you're the person to do the job? Have you been successful in the past? So have you done some past projects and have evidence of success in that project? You can use that to show that you are the person to do the job. A key aspect of this application is recommendation letters. You can't run away from that. Recommendation letters can be used in all the different categories to show that you are exceptional, your advanced degree is important, what you're proposing to do is important. Recommendation letters are important, right? It's not recommendation letters from people that know you personally. That's the tricky part. It's from people that know you professionally, right? So it's not your relative. It's not necessarily your direct boss. You can get one letter from your direct boss to say, hey, but people always think that that's a little biased because your direct employer might be writing a letter for you because he likes the way you greet him every morning. And people can say, hey, this guy just likes this pretty girl's face, right? So you want to get letters from leaders in your field who recognize the importance of that field and able to say, hey, this work is important. So for instance, if you're a business person, you want to get recommendation letters from your customers, right? That can be verifiable. So people have worked with you, they've used your product or they've used your services, and they can say for sure that what you're doing is legitimate and is important, right? You can get your sales records to show that, hey, we're actually making money here. And these are the number of people we're employing, things like that, right? So those are the two ways, those are several ways to show that you are the person to do the job. And then the last but not the least, which I think is where people fumble a lot, is that you must meet the requirements of the national interest waiver. You must meet the requirements of a job offer. So usually what happens is, if you are employed by employer, if you get a job and your employer is going to file for a green card for you, he has to get a certification from the Department of Labor to show that there was no other American, right? There was no other American who was qualified, and then they gave that job to an immigrant, right? That's the way that America protects its jobs for its citizens. But you, because you're applying for yourself, you have to show that it's beneficial to the U.S. to waive that requirement, to remove that requirement. I don't need a labor certification because what I'm bringing to the U.S. is so important that if you ask me for a labor certification, it's going to waste time. It's not important for my case, right? And so how do you show that it's beneficial for the U.S. to waive the labor certification requirement? And we know that labor certification can take months. So if your employer is applying for you, it can take a long time because you have to put the job up first for a certain amount of time, so that nobody applied, or even when people applied, American citizens applied, they were not qualified for the job, right? Or there was no American citizen that applied, but you were more qualified than everyone that applied. So it's a lengthy process. Now with the national interest waiver, you have to show that we don't need labor certification because what I'm bringing to the table is very important. And how do you show that? Recommendation letters, right? Get experts to say, what this guy's going to do in America is so important that we don't need labor certification for him, right? That's what you need. So recommendation letters, strong recommendation letters are important. I personally tell people to draft those letters before they get them, before they send them out. So when you find someone who's going to write a letter for you, go ahead and give that person a draft. It's always easy for people to work on a draft. That's what took me the longest to get. I always tell people between 5 to 10 recommendation letters, right? You need between 5 to 10 because USCIS thinks that if you're really important, it's not going to be hard for you to find people to recommend you. It's not. People are going to be able to recommend you because what your job is important, right? So they need 5 to 10. I think that's the range of success. Now, when you write the letters, I tell people to draft it because if you ask people to write letters for you from scratch, they'll get back to you in 3 months, 5 months. They haven't gotten back to you. When you give them a draft, and because you're giving them a draft, you know what exactly needs to be in that letter. You're giving them that draft and they can edit it. It comes back to you a little faster.
I want to add something. So
yeah.
I want to give you a couple, you've now known, even if your degree is different from your work experience, it has to be a little related. Or somebody wrote here, I have a degree in health science. I'm a data analyst or a data scientist.
Those are connected.
I think they're connected.
They are connected
based on how you tell the story. Let me use this person as an example. Data science, there is statistics to show that this job is important to the US. There is statistics to show how much you're going to make. There's statistics to show how much opening is available today and how the jobs of the future is going to have a lot to do with data science. You can definitely claim that you're of national interest if this is your field, based on how you put that together. Now, I want to give a tip on finding those recommendations. I have written at least 5 recommendations for people. Where did they find them? LinkedIn, These
LinkedIn.
people will come to LinkedIn to write, you know, this person has been following me. If I post anything, these are the first people to kind of, you know, they comment on my post, they appreciate my work, they write to me introducing themselves. Oh, I think we lost Dr. Ozzy. Can you guys still, I think she's okay, she's back. So these people, the first person I wrote this letter to, am I the one frozen?
I feel like you're frozen. You're probably seeing me as frozen. I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, I see that you're
Is
frozen.
it working
Oh,
now?
God.
I'm waving. Can you see that?
Yes, it is working. It is working
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Yes. So the first person I wrote a letter for, this person had commented on my post a couple of times, introduced themselves, told me that they're working on 3D printing related work in South Africa. And, you know, she really appreciated my work. I'd read my PhD thesis on 3D printing. So I was very interested in this person. So when this person came back 2 months later and asked for a reference letter or a recommendation for this EB2 work, the person didn't just say I need a reference. This person wrote what they need, put references of their publications.
Awesome. Yeah.
So you know, before I put my name on the line for you writing a reference, I need to make sure that you know what you are actually someone I can read your work and see that there is impact there. So this person put, Doctor, I need your help. I'm trying to relocate to the US with my family. I'm trying to use the stream. They required that recommendations be given to me by people I didn't work with, but who are in the field who can attest to my work. Here is my body of work. This person attached his research portfolio. He also attached his publication, so I could click on the link, go to the publication. He had, I think, about 7 publications. I didn't read the 7. I just read 2 of his publications. And then after I read it, so I said, okay, well, maybe, and then we put a link to, if I want to read about the EB2 program, this is the link so that I can confirm that he actually should get this from somebody who hasn't have a lot of direct contact with him.
Exactly.
And when I read that, I felt like I needed to help this person. Then I don't have time to sit down and be drafting a letter. Then he said, Doctor, I actually have drafted a sample, or you can use this as a template. You can just tweak it a bit if you think you want to. So in less than 2 days, I was able to provide this letter back. Now I became because the person was he's already written the letter. I just need to make sure that things are correct and sign and put it on a complete letterhead and say, okay, take your letter back, right? And so it was very fast to do that. What I realized in the process was, oh, the person was the first person who told me about this process. Now I became a little familiar with, there is something called EB2 process. When another person came, the person didn't come correct. The person didn't put their portfolio. They didn't do anything. They just expect that I'm going to draft a letter. What I did was I copied this person's format and sent to him and said, if you really need letters, people need to see you come correct like this.
Exactly.
Why are you listening to this? If you are thinking of doing this, the way you approach people and where you approach people matter. You are just having somebody on LinkedIn for the first time, and in 30 seconds, you're already sending them something to come and help. That's not going to work. So you need to kind of target, who are the people I want to use? Who are the people in this industry that has credibility? And try to introduce yourself first before you start to ask for help. Do something for them. Comment on their posts. Familiarize with their work. Have something that you want to say that will make them feel like you know them enough and there is connection between your work. Another method is, if you're like me, you've gone to a couple of trade shows, right? Like you've gone to these trade shows, you have made contact with people in your industry selling some equipment, or you've participated in webinars, you've participated in conferences, you have collected cards from people, you've connected with them on LinkedIn, or you have written an email to them. These are people who didn't have direct relationship with you because you didn't work for them directly, but you are in the same field. They are what I'm trying to say here is use your weak links. Your weak links are the best people who can write this letter for you. Your professional weak links, they are the people who help people get jobs the most, the people who help people do things faster, they are weak links. All your weak links, the people that you didn't work with directly, Yoruba, they say you have not passed your boundary with them.
Yeah.
Somebody is still respecting themselves. Right. So they are the people that I think they'll be the best to validate your work for you. Use LinkedIn to your advantage. Those people you met at conferences in Johannesburg, in different parts of the world, use them. Sometimes you don't need a professor with 2 million kidney to write for you. Somebody who is your peers or a little above you is okay. They don't have to be living in the US. It doesn't matter where they are living.
The experts.
The world is a global village. So as you position to kind of put this together, I wanted to just chip that out there, that I have done this for someone who made it easy for me. And from one person, have now done for multiple people. The people who are always understanding are immigrants. So I realized that because we have similar struggles. So find people like you. I'm not saying go and find all Nigerians come around. No. There are Asians, there are other people who are immigrants who are hustling for the same thing. So find people like-minded who have gone through immigration struggles. So they are easier on you in terms of writing the letter for you, because maybe they know somebody who has done it. So you don't have to explain too much. Or maybe because they too painstakingly have to go through some things to be able to get their own green card. So when they know that's what you need it for, they're a little compassionate about being able to do that for you.
One thing I'm going to say that you have to keep in mind is you have to develop a thick skin, right? Some people are going to say no to you. That's normal. If I need 5 letters, I'm going to reach out to 10 people, because I know that some people are busy. If these people are experts and they're really the experts that you say they are, they're very busy. They don't have time for this kind of stuff. So some people will say yes, but they won't even come through because they forget. So it's okay if some people tell you no. It's fine. Before this process, I was more like, I wouldn't say shy, but more of an introvert, where I don't want to ask people for favors. I just feel like I don't want to bother people because I don't even want to hear no, But I realized that, see, this process, you have to put yourself out there. So one of the tips I would say is, when you do go for conferences, you have to identify the people that you want to ask, right? You go to their talks. So these people have talks. You see it in the program. This professor or this engineer is going to be giving a talk in so room. Go to that talk. And after the talk, ask a question. That person has marked your face. After that, you meet with them outside, ask them more interesting things about their work. And then you get their contact. That way, it's not just meeting someone and asking that person for a favor. Another thing that you can do is, with the power of LinkedIn, is I find that it's a lot easier to get people to respond positively if someone they know would make that introduction. So sometimes you ask someone for something, they don't know you from anywhere. Sometimes the way you even ask, said they're put off, right? But if you have someone in common with that person on LinkedIn, so you can see LinkedIn is good about that. You can see 2 people, you can tell, hey, we have this friend in common. You can talk to the friend that you know, who knows you very well. I say, hey, I see this guy is in your network. Can you make this introduction for me? I'm trying to get this. And that person is going to really, really, really help you to do that. Because I find that when people I know and trust ask me for favors, I'm more likely to do it than when people just come out from the blues, right? Because I feel I know this person, I've trusted this person, I've worked with this person in the past. They're asking me for a favor. They don't do this all the time. I'm going to go ahead and do that for them. All right. So that's another tip, I guess, that could really, really help you with this process. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, doctor. So how long is the process?
Okay. So I told you that EB2 NIW, there's no expediting it, right? So you turn in your application, depending on what is going on. Right now, there's COVID. So everything is backed up, not just EB2 NIW. All the other processes are backed up. Some people are supposed to have gotten they've naturalized, they've done the swearing in, they've still not gotten their passport since beginning of the year. So everything is kind of backed up because of COVID, right? But let's say everything was good and fine. If you turn in your application, there's several applications that you turn in, right? There are 2 ways you can do it. You can turn in all your applications at once. You pay all the fees at once, right? The downside to that is, if they don't approve the first step, they're not going to move forward with any other step. It's going to send you request for information, request for evidence, RFE, right? They say, hey, we want more information. But if you go ahead and do the first step first, say, I'm sending in Form I-140, which is petition for alien worker. That's the most important step. If that step is approved, but that step can take up to 4 months for approval, because they do it first come, first serve, and they also do it depending on where you live. So for instance, I live in Tennessee. People who live in Tennessee, we send application to a particular office. People who live in California will send the application to a different office. So if the processing at California is a little faster, people who send their applications there will get responses a little faster. The good thing is that USCIS has somewhere on their website where you can tell what the average time is for each form you send into USCIS to be approved. Right? So if you go there and they say, hey, for this center it's 7 months, but someone who is submitting from California say for this center is 4 months, that's just the way it is. So my process took a whole year, start to finish, because I didn't do it concurrently. Concurrently means I'm sending in everything at the same time. So I'm sending in my I-140, which is petition for alien worker. I'm sending in my I-45, which is adjustment of status, right? So usually what will happen is once they approve I-140, then you file a 485, right? Some people like to stagger, especially if you don't have the money for everything. Hey, I don't want to send in everything now because what if they don't approve, but they take my money, So some people will say, okay, let me do the first step first. I get an approval. But if you want to save time and you're sure that your case is airtight, send everything at the same time. Several forms. So there's a I-140 for petition for alien worker. There's a 485 if you're within the U.S. Only people within the U.S. need to file for adjustment of status. It means that you're already here on another immigrant type and you want to adjust your status. You use the I-485. I-140 used to be $700. 485 used to be $1,200 or $1,280. They're changing these fees starting October 1st, October 2nd. So the prices are going to change on some of these fees. You send in I-765. Someone was asking me on my page that do you get an EAD card, an employment authorization card, while this process is going on? Yes, you do get it if you include that form, right? Now, presently, if you send in the application for employment authorization, it's free right now, as long as you're filing it with I-485. But if you file it separately, or let's say totally outside this process, you'd have to pay a fee on that. Come October 2nd, they're going to start charging people for that form as well. You can also file the form for advance parole or travel documents. So this process is going to take one whole year, right? And presently you are on another type of visa, but it's expiring. Include I-765, which is employment authorization, so that while your application is pending, you have authorization to work. They usually give you 1 year on that, right? If you want to travel outside America, don't leave after you've turned in your application, because if you leave the US, it's seen that you've abandoned your application and your thing is just going to be thrown in the trash. You have to get permission to travel using the form I-131 or advance parole travel document, right? Presently, that form is free if it's filed with I-485. October 2nd, they're going to start charging for 765 and 131. So things are changing. Things are going to get a little more expensive, especially if you need these additional forms. The big thing is the medical form, right? The U.S. has some stipulations. They want to make sure people who are coming to the U.S. are not coming in with public health risk or bringing in some kind of diseases, communicable diseases. So it's going to be a screening for each person that's on that application. It's going to be a screening. So it's through the form I-693. And you're going to go to a civil surgeon or a designated doctor, and he's going to do a whole list of things, look through TB, syphilis, gonorrhea, things like that, right? It doesn't mean that if you have this disease that you're not eligible. It means that they're going to tell you, you need to treat this stuff before we go to the next step, all right? We're going to check for some vaccinations as well. So these are some of the things that have been put in place. Now, if you feel that your case is strong enough, I don't have a lot of time. I'm running out of time, because for every non-immigrant, time is a big factor, right? We're all on some kind of visa or timeline or something like that. If you feel like I've put together a strong application, I strongly recommend that you file concurrently. Turn everything in. It'll save you time, because once they approve the I-140, they just turn to your adjustment of status. But if you feel like, I don't have money, I don't know if they're going to approve the first step, let me try, right? Let me try. You turn in your I-140 first. And then once they approve that, you move on to the next step. It's going to waste a little bit of time, because when they approve, they'll send you notification they've approved. You probably get that notification in 1 or 2 weeks. Put together the documentation for I-485, because each of these forms have documentation that go with them, right? So you can file concurrently. For me, it took a year, actually a year and a half, because at some point I stopped, because my husband was in Nigeria. After we got married, he went back to Nigeria and, immigrated the legal way, right? He came as a student as well. So I waited for him to come to the US, and then we adjusted our status together, right? The other way to do it was that I could have gone ahead with my application, and then he would have done consular processing from Nigeria. But I just felt that since he already had a student visa, let me wait for him, and then he'll join me, right? Yes, I did get the I-140 approved, yes.
Okay, so the question that she helped us answer is, it takes an average of 1 year, or if you didn't apply concurrently. If you applied concurrently, it may take a little faster than that. What am I trying to do here? I'm trying to do a comparison between this process and the Canadian process. The Canadian process also takes from 6 months to 1 year, so they're very comparable. So you need to think through this yourself. Do I see myself as being able to pass this process completely? If not, I think you should do the I-140 first. I think you should get that in. Once you get that in and it gets approved, then send everything in, the remaining thing together back. If you're outside of the US, I believe that you don't have to file adjustment of status. You don't have to file some of these things. So your process could be a lot faster because you don't even have any status that you're adjusting. So the payment could the payment could be a little easier on you if you are outside of the country and you are not on any timeline of my visa is expiring. Hey, what's gonna happen? So you can just sleep and be praying to God that the process gets approved wherever you are. I think it's a great opportunity. One thing that I've seen from people is our people completely wrote off the US. They believe that it's not even going to happen. So everyone thinks the US process is so hard that they can't even merit anything. One thing we're trying to demystify today is that this is possible, that information is power, that you just need to do the right research, that you need to put your documents together in a way that it will get you what you're looking for, that patience is important. Don't do wuru to the answer, that coherence is important, that you need to have a brand. If you don't have a brand on LinkedIn, you have not been going to conferences, who is going to validate your work? So you can't just be a researcher who is living in silo. Nobody knows your work. Nobody knows you. You're publishing by yourself. Nobody is citing it. People see me, they say, Dr. Hadi annoys. She makes noise. I make noise because
you need to blow your own trumpet.
If you don't blow your trumpet, who is going to blow it? If you don't hype yourself, who is going to hype it? You have refused to participate in all the different communities available for your field. Because of what? This type of issues, this type of things require endorsement from people. Please, I want to encourage, I think this is going to cut in maybe 1 or 2 minutes. If you're on this call, please call back. Dr. Ozzy still hosted. She said she can help us with another 30 minutes. So we want to take advantage of that to make sure that we break it down pata to the floor and maybe take a few questions. Before we go, I want you to know, so Dr. Ozzy is a consultant. So if you're putting these processes together, you need somebody to help you with the process. Please patronize her. You know, she is not a lawyer, but she's done this and she's able to help you make sure to look through to make sure that she help you answer those questions. Did you fall into the national interest category? Have you put it together in a way that is convincing? All the 3 criteria, have you done it properly? I always tell people, ignorance is expensive. The same way you have refused to register for my mentorship program. If you like, go ahead. I always say to people, I know you can look for the information by yourself, but sometimes you need people to help you. Some of you have migrated to Canada. You have gone and lowball yourself at your job because you have refused to come and find a mentor to help you negotiate properly. Don't refuse to pay Dr. Ozzy money. I'm still begging her for a coupon so that if you want to go and...
Oh, I already put it. I put it in your...
Thank you. So she said she's giving us a coupon. Our services is $120 per hour. She's giving us a coupon. I'm going to publish that coupon. So if you're part of this program today, you need our services. You can use the coupon to get some discounts off. This is the maximum she can do for us. But I feel strongly, as a scientist, as an engineer, if you ask me, I'm Canadian, and you are hearing this from a Canadian. If you ask me, where do you have better economic power? It is the United States. I am Canadian, and I'm telling you that. I went to school in Canada, but I know for a fact, having lived in both countries, if they will say, who no go, no. I went, so I know. So I'm telling you, if you have these high degrees, you are considering, do you merit US or Canada? If you merit both, come with your green card to America and live the American dream. It is possible. I'm telling you, you are hearing this from a Canadian with a lot of honor from Canada that everybody is following. But I want to make sure that you have the right decisions. If you don't merit both, I'm going to help you get to Canada. At least you will get to somewhere first. If you merit both, and let's say there is better economic power for your profession here, take this one. If there is better economic power for your profession in Canada, then go there. But we want to make sure that you have enough opportunity for you to choose which one is best for you, which one is best for your children, which one is best for your career, which one do you need actually. Education is expensive. Education is tough. And I feel like as Nigerians, as Africans, as immigrants, we continue to pile up degrees and we never take advantage of the degree. You don't negotiate for the pays very well. You don't even know what opportunities are available for the degrees that you have gotten. I hope that you know that that bachelor's degree, that master's degree, that PhD is a good thing. If you are in tech today, if there is anything that is more of national interest to the US or anywhere in the world, is Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution. If you're a data scientist, you are important. If you're a 3D printing specialist, if you're working on aircraft related work, if you're in art, if you're an accountant, you have added a bit of analysis to your work. If you're a digital marketer, even a graphic design, based on how you package yourself, these are areas that are booming in the US that they need more people. How you package yourself is very important. What have you added to your, have you added some certifications that are important? Look at all of the things you have accrued. It's time to benefit and not just accrued. You have accrued 16 certifications. You have done several on, yes, this is painful for me because on LinkedIn, when you look at the profiles of Africans, you will see behind their name, PhD, PE, PPP, all these PPP things. You are wondering, PMP, what is going on? And yet, you have all these PPP behind your name. You still don't have the green card. PPP, all of these things, you are still lowballing yourself, underpaid at your work. Our job is to make sure that all of these things you have accrued really pay off for you. We need better role models for our children. We need more role models. We need more Dr. Ozis. We need more Dr. Adis that other young researchers can look at and say there is future in education. That other people can look at and trust education one more time. That they can really understand that you don't have to be a slave queen. You don't have to go and sing to be successful. Your education is your passport to navigate the world. Is your passport to being successful. I want you to take a critical look at your education today. I want you to take a critical look at your experience, at the skill set you have in your portfolio. All right, I think our 1 hour is over. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to call back and invite you to come in. Guys, stay tight. Don't go anywhere. I'll be with you shortly. Thank you.
All right.
Hello. Hi there. How are you? Welcome back to the continuation of step by step to obtaining your green card using the EB2 NIW approach. I am going to try and find our guest who is going to be joining me, Dr. Ozzy here. Thank you all for joining back in. We are waiting for Dr. Ozzy to connect back. I hope this is going well. I hope that you are learning. I hope you are getting some good information. Welcome back, Dr. Ozzy. We have an hour left, and I want to make sure that Dr. Ozzy help us answer some of the things that we want to learn today. She has helped us. Welcome back, Dr. Ozzy.
Thank you.
So she has helped us uncover what is the minimum requirement in terms of advanced degree. She has helped us understand the three things you need to be able to use to prove that you have exceptional abilities. She has also been able to help us understand the national interest waiver, the national interest part of it. How do you get that? What do you need? I think there are a couple of things that some of you would like to clarify. If you have questions, please start dropping them. One of the key things for me is proof of funds. We would like to know, Dr. Ozzy, is there a proof of funds associated with this process? Maybe you need to show certain amount in your account. Is that something that is a thing? If there is, we would like to know how much. If we're applying from outside the US, total amount in USD, how much does this process cost for just application without using any help? And if we will say somebody's coming to use your service, what is their number of hours that this process could take for you working with them, so that people can understand if they don't employ your service, how much they need to save up. If they need to employ your service, how much extra would they need? Is there any other monetary related proof? Like in Canada, we have proof of funds that they need to show. For this, is there something like that?
Okay. All right, so let me start from the top. You asked about proof of funds. So when I did this process, there was something like that, right? Because, it's not, they're not coming to say, you're not an entrepreneur who is saying, I have a business and my business is successful. If that is your case, you have to show some numbers, right? But if you're someone who is going to be bringing value to the US, they don't necessarily have to see your account. Now, that being said, right before the pandemic started, right, the president put something in place, which is using the form I-944, public charge. Now, public charge means they want to make sure that you're not coming to the US to come and start using up their resources, right? The resources that are meant for the citizens, right? So stuff like you're a non-immigrant, but you're going to use the food stamp system, right? Or you're going to use things that are meant for Americans. So sometimes people do that. They know they're not qualified for something. They try and wiggle their way and use those things. He put something in place where if you've been using public funds that are not meant for you as a non-immigrant, they're going to, get you on those things. Now they're beginning to ask for credit scores, right? They want to see, are you owing? They're beginning to ask for your assets and your liabilities, things like that. But when I applied, it wasn't that way. But because of the COVID-19, they're saying, okay, we're going to put that on hold. We don't want that because a lot of people suffered lots of setbacks, right? So some people are now mainly using their credit cards. And they don't want to deny people based on that. So for now, that's on hold. So it's back to the way it was when I applied, where you don't need to show that you're a rich person, you have money in your account. You just need to pay the fees for these forms and you're good. The next question you asked me
before you go on, let me do a little dance. People, did you just hear that? All of you that have been saying Canada said we should show proof of funds. We don't have 5 million to show. We don't have this. Did you just hear that you can come to the US without proof of funds? There is no condition like proof of funds. This is very, very critical. Are you dancing Shoki for me? Let me just see your Shoki dance. People, you need to drop Shoki dance there. No proof of funds required. This is one of the biggest things, because this has been one of the reasons why a whole lot of people have not been able to apply for the express entry for Canada. Are you still sharing this program? Are you sharing this with your neighbor? Have you taken a snapshot of our beautiful faces? Please put it on Instagram, put it on Twitter, put it on Facebook. Let other people join. Send this link to them. They need to come and hear this. This is the best kept secret that people haven't really maximized. Dr. Ozzy, I will make noise, eh? I will make noise.
you know what? The person who told me about this, remember I told you guys in the beginning that the person who told me about this told me in hushed tones. She was like, don't tell anybody. This is how I got my green card. But when I thought about it, I realized that don't tell anybody. A lot of people are suffering. I remember in grad school, we'll sit down after classes and be talking about, oh God, we want to live in America, but we don't know how. And people will tell you, oh, you need to marry an American citizen. Hey, for a lot of people, that's not their reality. So a lot of people, they're not falling in love with people who are American citizens. So you have someone who you really, really love, but that person's an American citizen. You just write that person off because why? They don't have papers. So for a lot of non-immigrants, I understand this is headache. You find yourself in relationships where you are just like in one chance, but you can't leave because you feel you have no option. I went on a date once where the guy told me that you need me to work in this country. And I knew that was the end of that I would never come on a date with him again, because you didn't bring me to America. You don't know what I suffered through grad school. You're meeting me at the end of grad school and you're saying, hey, you're going to need me to get a job. No, I'm not going to need you to get a job. So I want you to know that there are options there. And most importantly, I want you to tell people about the options. Don't keep it to yourself, because what you do is when you keep it to yourself, a lot of people suffer, right? A lot of people don't have this information. They don't know what to do. So it's important that you share the information. Okay, how much does it cost? I told you, come October 2nd, they're going to put change a lot of fees, because they're saying, hey, we're undercharging for a lot of things. We don't have agents that are doing this work. We need to increase fees. But right now, the fees are the same. October 2nd, things are going to change. When I applied from within the US, so let's say you're applying as a single person, you don't have any family, you don't have any husband, no children under 21. The first form I-140 is $700, right? That form is $700. So begin to put your coins together. The next form, if you're going to file concurrently, is the 485. By the time that I filed, it was about $1,200, right? $1,200 plus 700 is already over $2,000, right? And then the medical form.
1,200 one, what is it for?
It's 12 months of adjustment of status. So you're already in the US. You filed for the I-140, which is petition for alien workers, $700. You filed for the adjustment of status, which is the I-485, which is like $1,200, right?
My sister, we that were coming from outside, we don't need the 1,200, right?
No, you don't. So if you're applying from, okay, so let me finish this part now, talk about outside Nigeria. So if you're outside America, so if you're filing from here, I told you, $700 for the I-140, about $1,200 for the 485. At this point today, you don't need to pay for 765, which is employment authorization or advanced parole. It's still free. So you can always include those forms. And then you're going to pay for your medical check. Now, it depends on the doctor you go to. Their prices vary. Some people you charge $500, some people $400, some people $350. So do your due diligence, do the research, find out who is qualified in your area. You can go on USCIS website and look for the civil surgeons that can do it. And then call 1, 2, 3 offices and find out the one that is cheapest for you, because it's not a set price for that. A lot of your insurance is not going to cover that. So make sure you call around a little bit and find out what is right for you, right? That is that, right? Remember that each of these forms go with passport photographs. So include that cost in whatever you're turning in. Of course, you're going to mail in these things. So I would say for a single person as of today, $2,500, you've turned in everything, right? Now, if you have a family, the only difference is, let's say you have a husband, you're going to include in your application. Your husband has nothing to do with the I-140. Only the primary petitioner, the main person, files I-140. So just subtract that $700 from the rest of the fees, and then you include whoever. Now you can include your children under 21. You can include your spouse to this application. I included my husband, so he was able to benefit from it as well. Now, if you're outside the US, let's say you're in Nigeria. Now, Nigeria is a little tricky because there's the executive order that's been put in place now, and that's for people who are migrating from certain countries. Now, they haven't said that you cannot apply. You can apply, but you can only get to a certain stage, and they're like, okay, you need to wait for a visa number to become available. And I've been following the news in Nigeria. The last I heard of it was that they put some stipulations. I think Nigeria was defaulting in certain things, and they said, hey, you guys have to come back to regulation on those things. So Nigeria is saying, hey, we're back on regulation. You guys need to take a look at us again. So hopefully, it's all political now. So hopefully those bans are taken off and things like that. But if you're in Nigeria, the process, if you're outside America, say in Finland, Australia, anywhere, the process is the first step, which is the I-140 petition for alien worker, that $700 form I was telling you about. You turn in that form to USCIS. So you send it into USCIS in the United States, right? That's the first step. Now, once that gets approved, once that petition gets approved, they will then inform the local National Visa Center, NIV, right, in your country. So the local center in your country is going to send you a letter in the mail to say, hey, congratulations, your I-140 has been approved in America. Here are the steps that you need to take from here. So that would involve what they call consular processing. So you're not going to be talking about the USCIS again. You have no other business with USCIS. All your business now is with your local, the consulate, the US consulate, right? So they're going to send you a list, a checklist of things that you need to accomplish before you can even get an interview, right? So what's going to happen is they're going to send you a checklist. You're still going to do a medical check, right, from Nigeria. Still going to do that medical check. They're still going to need to see police report. If you've lived in certain places, let's say you've lived in so many different places over 10 years ago, they want to see that, so they're asking for police report for some certain people. They want to see if you have any dependents that are going to be on that application. Those people need to do the same things as well. So it's the only difference is that you're going to the embassy or you're going to the consulate for your interview, right? You're going to still have an interview where they're still going to ask you, okay, tell us a little bit more about this thing you say you're going to do in the US. So it's like a formality, because the most crucial step actually is the I-140. And in the past, interviews were not required. But with this new administration, they brought interviews for the EB2 and IBW process. But in the past, it was not required. So know that you can actually apply from outside the US. Another thing I'm going to talk about is my services. What do I offer? So I offer a lot of services now. The very first one is, the first thing that I did after I got my application was that I set up a YouTube channel because I want to tell everybody about it. I'm just one of those people where I don't want people to suffer. I want people to be able to do things. I want that information out there. So I set up a YouTube channel. I talked about all the different steps from when I applied to when I went to the interview. I even gave you the interview questions. You can go on there and look at those things. The next thing I did was that I set up a DIY kit, right? Do it yourself. Because honestly, I'm a kind of person who, if I watch a video, if I have templates, I can do stuff myself. I don't really need someone to look over my shoulder, right? There are people like that. If that is you and you feel like, okay, I watched your videos, I just want a template to do this stuff, I can do it myself. So in that template, I have my original application, all the forms I submitted, how I submitted those forms. So I've downloaded all the forms, I filled it out just to show you this is how I did it. All the evidence I turned in, timelines, things like that. I have over 168 Microsoft Word documents. I put it in Word documents because I want you to just edit those things out and replace it with your name, so you know exactly what to take out, what to put in. So I've put recommendation letters drafts there as well. You can see exactly what went in my recommendation letters. For that, I think that's currently $89.99. If you need that that package, and it's an e-package, so the moment you pay, you can download that stuff. It's not something that will have to come in the mail like 10 days later. No, you can get it at that point. So that's another thing that I have. Now, people start reaching out to me. Some people just don't have the time. I wouldn't say they're lazy, but just don't have that time. They want someone else to do the heavy lifting, and I understand that. So I started another service where I do some consultation. So for instance, you want me to go through something, some letter that you have. Maybe you've written a petition letter. You want me to go through it and say, hey, does this make sense? You send it to me and you give me at least 78 hours to go through that stuff. And then we set up a Zoom session where I kind of give you pointers and I tell you, it's usually 1 hour, it costs $120. And I tell you exactly what I think about that application, if you need to turn it in right now or not. I give you an evaluation of your credentials and I say, hey, you can turn it in now, but I think you can wait. I think you can build on this. I tell you exactly what you need to do to make your application stronger. I think that's a very crucial thing. So if that's the service that you want, I have that as well. Now, recently, because I have so many people on my case who are like, okay, we don't have time. I've actually started writing petition letters for people, but I don't take everyone. So if you want me to write a petition letter for you, I have to have a consultation with you and I have to make sure that I want to take on that case. If I do decide to take on that case, it's going to cost $1,000 for me to do that. Now, I've done this for several people. So I have a lot of people on my timeline right now, but it's just something that I need to have an initial consultation with you. I need to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward, basically. And so the way that it works is from the day that you pay that money, I'll send you a secure link where you can upload all your supporting documents. From the day that you upload the last supporting document to the day I give you back your petition is 1 month. So you're not going to rush me to do it. You're still going to give me time because I have stuff going on in my life as well, right? I have a day job, right? So, but I'm going to take my time and craft that letter for you in such a way that you're going to get an approval, right? So that's what's most important. So these are the kind of services that I have currently have right now. I'm not expanding right now because I feel like I have, I'm working with certain people. We're able to turn around this stuff in this time. And it's helping a lot of people. So if this is you, and if you need help with your application, I'm going ahead to give Dr. Adi a 10% discount for the services. All right. So you can use it and get some kind of discount and move yourself forward.
This is great. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. I think there are a lot of researchers on here today. Like Dr. Ozzy said, you don't have to be a scientist. This is applicable to people in accounting, in all this finance business area. It's applicable to people in arts. So if you're in arts, you too have this opportunity. This is not limited to one field, just science, engineers and stuff. Dr. Ozzy, is there an age restriction on this process?
No, not that I know of. As long as you're not blind and I'm not trying to say blind people are not going to get, don't get political with me. But what I mean is my grandfather got cataracts toward the end of his life and he couldn't see. So basically he was stuck in one place. So his career was way over. As long as you're not retired is what I need to say. As long as you're not retired and you're still actively working, because when you go for your interview, they're going to ask you, are you going to remain in this field or not? You have to show that you're going to remain in this field. But you have to tell them that you plan to remain in this field. But if you're someone who's already retired, I would say don't do it because it's going to hurt you, right? You can move to another country or to another means. But if you are old and gray, I'm talking about people that have seen their great grandkids right now, they don't have any worries in the world. In fact, those people don't even want to migrate to anywhere. But I'm just saying, as long as you're not retired in your field, because you have to show that you're actively working in that field. As long as you're not retired, you can apply, right? I've seen people, I've worked with people, and if you come to research labs, you see people who are in their 50s. You see people who are in their 60s who are still working, right? As long as you are still actively working, definitely you can apply.
Great. So can you have children? Is there a limit of how many children you can have?
No. You can add your kids to the application. So it's no limit as long as they're not over 21. Now, once they're over 21, they're seen as adults. So you will not be able to easily add them. You can still add them, but it takes a longer process, right? You can add your spouse, not your boyfriend, not your fiance or anything like that. Someone you're married to. You can add that person on that application as well.
So as you guys have heard, I'm trying to differentiate for you. How is this different from the Canadian one? The Canadian one, as your age increases, your points reduces, and a whole lot of you are stuck right now because of that age restriction. The US is offering you an opportunity where there is no age restriction. This is extremely crucial for you. And there is no monetary bound. So you're not bound to, you need to provide $10,000, $20,000. When you have children, it becomes a lot more. You don't have that restriction. You have heard from Dr. Ozzy today that the process takes about a year. So it could take from 6 months to a year plus. With COVID, let's add another 6 months to it, 18 months maximum, you'll get this green card. You're not getting a visa. You are getting a green card. A green card, which means once you get to America, employers wouldn't tell you, do you have opportunity to work here and stuff like that. That is not a part of the things you will be concerned about.
That's a limitation.
If you have a different degree than your work experience, so far there is a little bit of link. It is possible to still get this done. If you're someone with, maybe let's say you're a researcher, you have about 100 citations, you have 3 publications or 4 publications well cited, you could use that as evidence. This is, when I look at the entire process, for me, I think this is a lot easier than the Canadian. Yes, because especially for all
the Canadian was easier, actually.
It's not. That's the thing, because it depends on where you are in your life. People didn't even know that they can use a bachelor's degree. A lot of people didn't know there is anything called this EB2 and
Right. I didn't know. Someone told me.
Yes, the Canadian one is also merit-based, but it has a whole lot of constraints. As you heard from Dr. Ozzy, there is no IELTS requirements here. So you're not meant to write English proficiency and be failing 3 to 4 times, which is one of the things you do in the Canadian one. There is no restriction on your age, which is one of the things that has been affecting people in the Canadian one. There is nothing on proof of funds, which is one of the biggest for the Canadian one for you. So as you can see, this is very, very good. This is if you can put this together yourself, she already have a kit for you to kind of look at and copy and just tweak stuff here and there to be able to get it done. In both cases, whether you apply to Canada, you're applying to the US, you have to put in the work. Nobody is going to do for you what you're supposed to do for yourself. What can we do? Dr. Ozzy is able to apply to help you with, put down a very good competitive package if you're willing to pay for that.
If you have to be qualified.
Yes, but you have to be qualified. So what I want you to do after this program today, I want you to take a stock of your career. I want you to take a stock of the things you have done. What is the degree you have? What work are you doing right now? Is there a connection between the two? I want you to take stock of who do you know in your field that can write petition, recommendation letter for you when it's required. I want you to take stock of, okay, if I move to the US, are there opportunities for me there? Will I be able to have a good life there? Is this something that I need I can do to better my situation? I want you to take stock of other things, such as, all right, do I have 18 months? If you're listening to us, maybe you are almost out of status, or maybe you are in school, you are graduating in let's say you're graduating in April next year. Then you can already start to, even if you don't want to start the process right now, you can already start to put the package together so that as soon as you graduate, you can start to think about, maybe you want to apply. If you have previous work experience in Nigeria or Ghana or India, and you are listening to us right now, and you are in school in the US, this is the moment when you can start to reach out to your employer. You can start to look for recommendation. If you plan to do this right after your degree, you can start to put all of this together so that the process will be faster for you. So if they give you 1 year OPT, before the OPT runs out, this process will progress a whole lot. Don't wait until things are almost really, really bad to take action. It is crucial that you invest in yourself. One thing that I see Nigerians avoid a lot is we want everything for free. We want you know,
during when the lockdown started, I did a lot of Zoom sessions for free. I did
Yeah.
a whole lot of Zoom sessions, you know, the first, I think 3 or 4 months into the lockdown. And I get a lot of questions. So I usually do these 1 hour sessions. I get a lot of questions. The reason why I put a monetary value on my time is that these Zoom sessions get so long. People, ask a whole lot of questions. And I find that, oh my God, I wanted to do a 1 hour session. I end up doing 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And then sometimes when something is not the price, people tend to take advantage of it. So I even did free calls to people. And then what would happen is supposed to be a 10-minute call, but people would want to extend that to an hour. And, so I decided that, okay, if I tell you that this call is going to cost you $120, what's going to happen is you're going to come with your questions pre-written and you're going to go straight to the point. You're not going to waste time.
Yes.
And for me, when I wanted to do this process, I called a lawyer because I wanted to, I thought I could do it. I called a lawyer and she told me, oh, okay, you have all these questions. And she's like, okay, come in. And then she's like, 1 hour is like $500, it's $500 per hour. And I was sitting there thinking, how many questions can I ask in 1 hour, So I'm just saying that if you feel like this process, you fit into this category and you're ready to apply, what I'll say is take the information and start gathering your documents. So from the time that I heard about it, I wasn't ready at that time. I decided to wait till I was in my OPT years, right? And then from the day I decided I was going to start reaching out, collecting the recommendation letters, putting my application together, things like that, it took me 7 months to actually turn in my application. Why? Because I was also working during the day. So I'll come home at night and I'll say, okay, let me do this one this night. And then, so you can definitely do it by yourself. It will take time, but you can do it by yourself. The reason why it takes time is because you have to make sure every document is complete, every evidence is there, right? So if you're saying I have an advanced degree, you want to see that degree certificate, you want to see transcript. Do you have your transcript ready? Do you have those things? You need to reach out and get those things. You bring that evidence. For everything that you say you have in that application, if you say you have an award, so you have scholarship, you have to have evidence for that. These people don't know you from anywhere. The only way they know that you're telling the truth is with evidence, right? So if they don't see something, if you say, hey, I got an award, and they don't see it, they're going to do something called a request for evidence. So they'll send you a letter. They'll say, hey, you mentioned this thing, but we don't have evidence for it. Can you send? That's going to delay the process. All right. So keep that in mind. Not every award goes into this type of application. So sometimes you have an award from your neighbor, good neighbor award. It has nothing to do with this application. Don't put it in. What it does is it distracts people from the key things that need to be, seen. So it's not every award, and not every organization that gives you an award actually fits the mold. There was a case I was reading, because I always read these cases to see what USCIS rejected and to make sure that you don't fall in that category. This person got an award from I'm not going to call the name of the club, just in case. They got an award from a club. It's not recognized anywhere. It's just a local club in their local community. And they said, okay, remember, you have to have international acclaim. So it has to be something that is known. It won't be, because if you're saying that, hey, these people gave me an award, and they find out it's just people that are just only in your neighborhood, to them, it doesn't carry as much weight, right? So I can tell you ways to get awards. Now, there's a study that shows that immigrants, minorities, we don't nominate ourselves for awards. We want people to just think of us and just say, hey, there's one Dr. Adi that I see on Instagram. Let me nominate her, right? But you see what she does? She's always on Instagram talking about her work. She's putting herself out there. Now, a lot of minorities don't do that. That's what the research shows. So a lot of times you get these emails at work that say, hey, we have this award coming up. Nominate people for this award, right? What people that are not minorities are doing is that when they see those opportunities, they get people to nominate them, or they self-nominate, or they tell their friends, hey, I qualify for this award, but I don't want to do it myself. Can you nominate me, right? Do that and get your name out there. Another way that you can do it, they've also shown another study that minorities don't negotiate for job offers. So you get a job, especially women now. You get a job, you're just so grateful and happy to have a job. They offer you the first number they give you. Yes, yes, I will work for free. You know, no, that's not the way it works. So you could be in an institution, and you're two people on the same level, the same degree of experience, are getting paid differently. Why? Because one of them was able to say, I'm worth more than this, right? And if you don't ask, they won't give you. So what I did when I got my first job, because my husband, you know, he knows all this stuff, so he was the one pushing me. I didn't know this stuff. He was telling me, hey, you need to negotiate your move. You need to tell them that, hey, you're moving from interstate. You know, talk to them about that. You need to, and then I was able to ask for these things. Initially, there was a pushback. Or why are you asking? You know? And I too acted like I had all these offers. I had some other offers, but it wasn't like those offers were way better, you know? But I was able to also ask for those things. So I'm actually known for that at work. Every year, or if I need to renegotiate anything, I'll have that conversation. I'll sit down, and there are ways to do it. Dr. Adi can help you with that. You don't just go in there and say that I need a raise. No, you have to come with, hey, these are your strong points. These are things that you bring in the industry. These are things that you did last year that, you know, that set you apart. And this is your projection for next year. Like, do your homework and then come correct, right? So I'm saying, if you don't have awards, there's several ways to get awards right now. If you don't have publications and you're in research field, someone was asking about co-authored publications, those count as well. If you don't have any publications, the first thing I tell people to do is write a review article. It is so easy. You don't need experiments for that. That establishes your name in that field. You can write a review article, partner with somebody in your lab, write that article, and it's out there. Another thing you can do is tag on to someone who's already on a project. Say, hey, what can I do for you? What experiments can I do for you that will land me on this paper as well? You don't need to do everything by yourself. Someone is already doing something, hop on with that, give them a little bit of help, and be on that paper as well. There's several ways to do this thing, so you just have to be smart about it. Remember that this is not an overnight thing, all right? So you're not going to pressure anybody to give you recommendation letters. When I asked people to give me recommendation letters, I told them nicely, and I'll send them reminders. I'll tell them this is when I need it. I never give anybody overnight to write a letter for me. I always tell the people, I always give them 2 months. So the people that I asked, you know, they're very busy people. Some of them put me in contact with their secretaries and say, hey, I've agreed to do this thing for you. Hey, here's my secretary's number. You continue the conversation with her. And that's what happens. So I'm just saying is, don't be in a hurry to get this thing done. Put everything that you need together and write the most compelling argument that you can. Somebody asked that if you get refused, can you reapply? Yes. USCIS, by virtue of their name, they will not refuse anything outrightly. If you've had run-ins with the IRS, even when they're telling you that you're owing them, they don't come and say that, hey, they say, hey, we think we've identified some errors. Can you send us this document to see if maybe we made a mistake? That's what they do. So with the USCIS process, what they do is they send you a letter and they say, hey, you sent us some documents. You said you had certain things. Some things are missing. Can you please send us that, the information that is missing? What you do is that you then think of other ways to show that you're exceptional. If they're asking that you're exceptional, the good thing about USCIS, they'll tell you exactly what they need, and they'll give you examples of things that you can turn in, right? So please go ahead and do that. If you're already in the US, you still have access to it. If you're in Nigeria, you can turn in the I-140, but at the point where, because Nigeria is part of the executive ban right now, if you're applying from Nigeria, you can turn in the I-140. Once the I-140 is approved, they may not let you move to the, complete the consular step because they have that ban, basically. All right, so that's what that's the report that we're getting. But it's not forever. You guys know there's an election in November. Things may change. But if you're interested, know that you can, this is an option. You can begin to think of ways of putting in that information and making sure that everything is golden, right? So that's it. That's what I have, you guys. I can't remember any other question.
Thank you so much for joining us today, for all these wonderful, wonderful gems that you shared with us.
One more thing. Someone's asking for my social media handles. So I have a podcast and I have a separate page for that. And I have this immigration and a separate page for that. The immigration page is EB2NIW on Instagram. So you can go on there. You find links to everything that I talked about, right? The YouTube page, you find links to my website where you can purchase any plan, or you send me an email, that information is there. You need to book an appointment, that information is there. if you want to listen to my podcast is a little different. I started the podcast to talk about my life as an immigrant in America, and then we've evolved. But that's what it's about. That's African Princess in America. That's a different Instagram page. So you can choose what page you want to follow. But I would strongly suggest that if it's really about immigration talk, then you come to the EB2 NIW page, and then I can really help you there.
Great. Thank you so much, Doc, for sharing with us today. I have the code for the 10% discount. I'm going to share that with this. I have the first session we did is already on the IGTV. I'm going to put the code there, and I'm going to put the code here. So if you're buying the packages or if you're booking consultation, you get 10% off. People, this has been an amazing session. Don't forget, the reason why this session is available is to be able to jump start for you. If there are things you need to do, that you understand what are the opportunities available for you. We hope that you take advantage of that. Dr. Hosey has provided you all of this information. Now, before you go and book a session, make sure you have collated what you have. Make sure you have thought things through. Make sure you have Googled stuff on USCIS to kind of have an idea. Don't go there blank. Don't go there empty. Just hoping that she's going to help you figure everything out. Do some homework yourself before you move on to talk to her. If you're looking for a coach or a mentor, if you're an engineer, a scientist, you're looking for a coach or a mentor, my second cohort of the fourth cohort of my mentorship program is opening on October 1st. So some of you have approached me. I need to add tech to my career. I don't know what to do. I'm opening up a single consultation opportunity for people like that. One consultation, 90 minutes, tailored to you to help you figure out what is it that you need to put together. The goal for that program is put together a 5-year plan for you. In the next 5 years, this is where you need to go, and these are the things you need to do, tailored to you. Now, for those people who are looking for admission, trying to get into grad school, the program is still also going to accept 15 people who are working on their graduate student application. So please be saving your money for that, so that when it opens on October 1st, you will be one of the few people that I want to take this cohort. I believe in one thing. Those people, ignorant is expensive. Those people who refuse to invest in themselves, they will eat the crumbs from the table. If you're relocated to the US or Canada, you're looking for a job, you need somebody's help who has navigated the system, beat the system, won the system, got paid, got promoted multiple levels. Come talk to me. I'm tired of immigrants getting underpaid. I'm tired of you coming and not knowing. That $200 that you want to pay me could save you a whole lot of money if I help you negotiate that job. Don't go on that job and jump on it like Dr. Ozzy said. I first job, you just say, hey, that's it. Don't do that. Maybe there is 20,000 extra per year that the company could give you. Maybe there is a stock option you didn't ask for. Maybe that
options they don't tell you about.
Yeah. Maybe there's stock option you didn't ask for. Maybe you can get that signing bonus, but they didn't tell you it's possible. Come talk to me. Let's beat them for every dollar that they are owing you. You have gone to school. You have learned a whole lot of things. You have worked hard. Our hope is that you maximize your potential in these countries. I am tired of Black lives not mattering, right? Because we're not asking the right questions. We are not maximizing our potential. So we continue to live in slums. We continue to get underpaid. I'm tired of that. And that is why you come quarantine with me. Now we're going to move this to every Sunday, every other Sunday, every 2 weeks at 2 p.m. Please find time to tune in every second and fourth Sunday. I hope. I don't know. I just know 2 weeks.
I'm surprised people are here. Today is not the finale of Big Brother.
It is, but if
oh
when we finish the Big Brother, reality will happen, right? So you are still living in the dark. There's no electricity. You are finished watching Big Brother, and then what? So I'm very thankful that you are here. You've participated in this program. I hope that you go out there, maximize your potential. When you need help, find myself and Dr. Ozzy. For all of you who are abroad who are wondering, what have I gotten myself into? You need to follow Dr. Ozzy's podcast. I believe he will encourage you. I believe he will help you as you think through your journey. And please stay tuned on these pages that she has and my page as well. Dr. Ozzy, we owe you a whole lot. I think.
Thanks for inviting me. I love to talk about this stuff. I really do.
Thank
that's
you.
That's stuff that YouTube. That's why I go on all these
have all these sessions is because I really want people to have the information, because it doesn't pay me if I'm the only Black person in my on my floor at work. It doesn't pay me,
Yes.
actually. It's actually disheartening when you go to certain places and you're not fully represented. Why? Because your people don't know about these opportunities, and that's just something that is terrible. And we need to help each other. Okay, so for today it's immigration for me. I'm sharing this information with you, but tomorrow if you see an opportunity that you feel like, hey, Oz is going to benefit from this, please reach out and tell me. I too will enter the giveaway. I don't have shame, okay? If the entry giveaway for Mercedes-Benz, I'm entering there as well. I'm interested, So please, there's no shame. There's no shame in this stuff. Remember, if people tell you no, at first it may hurt, but develop a thick skin. It's never about you, okay? Some people just are not inclined to help other people. Some people, even when I was asking for recommendation letters, some people would be like, I don't know you from anywhere, Some people will give you that attitude, and that's okay. For everyone that says no to you, there are like 10 more people that could say yes. So don't let anybody hold you back. If you're in
thank you so much, Dr. Ozzy, for joining us today. We really do appreciate you, and thank you for all you do for our community. I am proud of you personally. I'm proud of how far you've come. I'm proud of the person that you have become. And I just met you, and I felt like, I'm proud of how you have transitioned in America. Thank you so much. Thank you to our audience. I heard that Lakon just won the Big Brother. People said they were watching both of them. We celebrate with him. And I hope that you come have a chat with us about your career and whatever you are working on. Oh, they said they can't hear anymore. Well, this is the end today, guys. Thank you all for participating, and take care.